Hello everybody, welcome back to Anna with Plants. My name is Anastasia. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. This video is a little bit unscripted, very impromptu. I am gonna have to get ready for dinner in about an hour, so I'm gonna see how much I can get done within that time. I have a wide range of Hoya props in front of me, so we are just gonna go through them together. I'm gonna show you what I've been propping over the last month or so. Some of them are really due for a pot up, and so I'm thinking if I have some time, again, depending on how much I have, I know I want to at least pot up one of these. That is the game plan. I would say quite a majority of them you have seen before, some of them you haven't. So we're gonna jump right into it. Let's talk about the one that I definitely need to pot up as soon as possible. That's gonna be my Hoya AH elephant. It's also called, I think, AH027. There are quite a bit of AH props. I think this one's one of the original ones that I took. All of them have growth points growing, so that's why I really need to repot them. They've also been drying out in these containers. Let's just see how many AH props I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have one in this container. So I have 7. That's a lot of them to go into a thing. I'm gonna have to figure out how many I can squeeze into a pot. This is one of the original ones that I took as well. Sometimes with the elephant, the leaves kind of come in warped like this. Here's another one leafer, and this one has a pretty impressive growth point going for it. If you're not very familiar with this Hoya, what it's really known for is having really large leaves. And I remember seeing a photo of a person's AH elephant, and it was on this really tall trellis, like 4 feet high trellis, and it was just the most magnificent thing ever. It was covered in large leaves, and I'm like, yes, I need to do that to mine. So I think one of the ways to get it there is to potentially put as many of these props in a pot as I can and just give it time to climb up a trellis. So that is my plans for all these props. Again, I don't think I'm gonna need all 7 of these, so I don't know what I'm gonna do with the rest of them. That's what's happening with the elephant. And if we have time today, this is the one that I wanna tackle for sure. Oh yeah, that's another thing, is most of these props that I've taken over the last month or so, it's because unfortunately the original plant rotted out. I don't know what's been going on with my collection, or maybe with me, I'm not sure. I've just been kind of oscillating between underwatering something, and then I will water it probably a little bit too much, and then we have rot happen. I feel like that has been the theme of the summer for me, is I ended up rotting a lot of my bigger Hoyas, and yeah, I feel ambivalent about it. I'm not super heartbroken if that just means I get to restart it and grow it even bigger. I feel like this year, if I'm being honest with myself, hasn't been the greatest growing year for me in this hobby, which is ironic because it's the year that I started my YouTube channel. So I feel like so far I'm just chronicling all of my screw-ups. But I mean, I hope nobody expects perfection from me, because I certainly don't think that's possible, especially with me. So thank you guys for being kind. I really appreciate that. Next one, this is the Hoya meredithii, and I ended up propping this leaf, and the growth point was starting to grow, and then it just ended up dying, which is funny because there is still some water. I know it's really hard to see, but there was still some water here, so I have no idea why the growth point decided to die, because I thought the roots were doing okay. So I definitely don't think it's time to, yeah, the roots feel fine, so I don't know why that growth point decided to die, but that's how it goes with this plant. It's very particular with what it wants, so I'm gonna just leave it. This one here is the Hoya AH032. I don't know, I can't remember if I mentioned this one in the Hoya haul that I did a while back ago, but this one is a somewhat new Hoya to me. It also, in my care, ended up growing this leaf while it was propagating. It is a little bit small and bleached because I keep all these props under T8 lights, so they're getting quite a lot of bright light. Definitely will need to pot this one up because it is growing a tendril just maybe not today. This next one, I got the original plant from UPT and the plant is no longer with us. I need to look back in my purchase history to figure out which one this is because I did not label it. Oh yeah, none of these props are labeled. I don't recommend you do this because I'm just lazy and I don't get around to labeling my props, and that is why I can't tell you what this one is. It's growing a growth point, which is nice. It is well rooted in here. I remember I bought this one because of the, I think it gets like dark margins or something under highlight, something about highlight and this plant. I think that's why I bought it. I'm going to breeze by this one because I featured this in the plants you haven't seen in a while. So if you guys happen to see that video, you have already seen this. This is my splashy Hoya publicalyx. I have 5 propagations of this that ended up taking and growing. I took probably around 8, I want to say, of the entire plant before I ended up throwing it away because it rotted out. So I think just knowing the condition that the mother plant was in, this is not super bad odds. I do like how the splash turns a light pink color. Hopefully the camera is picking that up when it's exposed to highlights. And I have a new leaf growing in this prop, so that means these definitely need to be repotted soon. So this next one is paulshirleyi. That might be totally wrong. This is a new leaf that grew while it was propagating, but these 2 leaves here were the initial propagation leaves. I think it has 2 tendrils going on because this is a new tendril that's growing off of the original node. I bought this plant initially because of the blooms. I want to say they're like really nice pink blooms, so that is that one. Moving on to this one, I think you guys will have seen most of these, hopefully. I would love to pot these up soon. These are all of my props I took of the hueskeliana outer variegated, and there are actually some new leaves. So this is a new leaf here. Any of the ones that are a little bit more yellow than the others, like this is a new leaf right here. And my plan for this one is to just pot it up in like a tiny container, and then I will have it hang over time. This next one, this is a little sad because I think most of the growth points ended up shriveling because, again, there was this time where I underwatered these props. I think only one might still be growing. This is the sigillatis, and I took 5 props of the original mother plant. Unfortunately, a lot of these growth points ended up dying off because, again, I forgot to water the vials. All this happened at the same time. My plans for this are the same as the hueskeliana, and in here I have a very random polyneura. I got this also, I think, as a bonus cutting in one of my purchases, and it was growing, and you know what happened. It got underwatered and died off. So this container could be doing better, but it's not. This last prop container I want to show you, I took these not because the original mother plant died. Basically, I had this long, very splashy strand on my Mathilde, and I wanted to continue those genetics and see if I could. So I took a lot of propagations off of that single strand. Look at how many there are. And honestly, I gotta say, most of the leaves that have grown in, despite the original cutting being very splashy, the new leaves are just not splashy at all. It's kind of a disappointment. I wish the genetics for splash for the Mathilde were a little bit more consistent. Here, for example, look at the original cutting. It has a very splashy leaves. This was the leaf that grew, has pretty low splash. Same story here. Let me show you the original leaves. Look at them. And then this is the leaf that grew. Let me just clarify, there's nothing wrong with having a low splash Mathilde. That plant is still beautiful regardless of how much splash it has in it. I just specifically was trying to create a more splashy version of that, and it unfortunately is not going super well. So I don't know, in your experience, guys, have you had more splash in a plant come out over time? Maybe I should give these a couple more leaves before I decide what to do with them. If all these props decide to not be splashy, I might just pot them up and just say like, I gave it a try and just grow a regular Mathilde, but I just kind of wanted to see what would happen. Those are my splashy, not so splashy Mathilde cuttings. So these next 3 props are from my original Hoya pandurata Vietnam mother plant. That plant was a beauty back in its time before I unfortunately rotted it out. Of all of the cuttings I took, because that plant was in pretty bad shape by the time I took the cuttings, I think I ended up taking 6 and I only have 3 and only 2 are growing. The leaves are doing okay. I think I definitely need to move it into lower light and I need to ideally get it out of the garage, but I'm really hoping for the temperatures to drop because I believe panduratas really love lower temperatures. It's probably just not been having a good time in that really, really hot garage. So these are the 2. These are the 2 props that are growing leaves. And as you can see, the leaves are not in such great shape. And again, that's because of the heat and the high light that I have them in. Either needs to get colder where I live or I need to move them. And I just kind of wanted to show you. So this prop I took, which is beautiful, by the way, this is how pretty that plant can be. This is a very, very beautiful cutting. This is what happens when you use nutrient water in your vials versus plain water. Plain water gets no algae in it and you can see the roots pretty clearly, and this is the nutrient water, and because there's nutrients in the water you're going to be growing algae. These roots however grew in way faster than these roots did, and because of the nutrients they're growing leaves and this cutting is not yet. Thought I'd show you guys because that's an interesting observation that I noticed. These last 3 are Hoya polyneura albo marginata. I ended up chopping the mother plant of this one because it just stopped growing, and I feel like I get that with polyneura sometimes, growing really fast and then all of a sudden they'll stop and kind of go into like some kind of dormancy period. I decided to chop the original mother plant, and these are the leaves from her, and one of the props is growing new leaves. This one, same thing, is I have it in regular tap water and you can see the roots starting to form a little bit. It's just taking much longer. Like by comparison, this is just kind of the difference between using tap water compared to nutrient water. Now that I've shown you all of my Hoya propagations, I have about half an hour or so to pot some up. Like I said, I'm going to start with the Hoya AH elephant. So let me get all of my supplies and then I'll meet you back here. So I want to run through what I have in my head before we get into everything. I have, I think it's like a 5-inch pot. And then I have this beautiful, beautiful large trellis. It's kind of hard to show, but it's pretty big. I got this trellis off of a very lovely lady on the US Hoya market group. I know a few of you said that you were interested to potentially buy from her, and I did reach out and contact her, and she said that it was totally okay for you guys to do so and for me to post her name. So I will go ahead and post where you can find her. I will also post her name. So all you need to do is either you can join the group and be able to see her posts through the group that way, or if you don't feel like joining the group, then you can just go ahead and DM her directly on Facebook. She has really great trellises. A lot of the clear hoop trellises that you've seen me have are also from her. I also had some clear trellises that had like the spikes at the bottom of them. Those are also her trellises. So I've bought from her a few times and all I can say are great things. So if you end up buying from her, then please let her know that I sent you, and let me just go ahead and take off the plastic from this trellis and I will go ahead and explain my vision. I want to pot as many of the elephant props as I can into this container here, and over time when the tendrils start growing, I want to clip them to the trellis and hopefully be able to start them on this and fill out the trellis as quickly as possible. And I thought this ladder trellis was just so perfect perfect because I'm gonna need a lot of space, and I need the trellis to be tall but still be able to go into a pot that's not so large, because again, these are just props. I believe this is the large ladder trellis that I bought from her, and it comes in multiple sizes. That is the trellis, and you can just see how clear it is. And just FYI, I'm just telling you guys because I love her products. I don't get any commission or kickbacks. Just thought I should make that clear. I'm gonna go ahead and put some pumice on the bottom of this planter. The roots are going to be able to get down to the bottom of this pot since they are props. It'll hopefully not stay so wet. And this is the medium that I've been using pretty much all year for my plants. It's going to be my Pawn tree fern fiber, and I actually added pumice into this one. Go ahead and situate the trellis in here. Perfect. It's like the perfect size. Gonna go ahead and start filling the pot. I think that's about as high as I want to go. Then I think the roots are going to be able to reach down in here. In terms of what props I want, I'm going to take the ones that are already growing pretty substantial tendrils. Let me just figure out how many I can place in here comfortably. I think I'm gonna try to put 5 of the props, and then the other 2 and these other 2 leafers, I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with them. Maybe I'll pot them up by themselves and then transfer them back in when it's time to repot. I hope everyone is having a lovely start to October. I have some plans for some Halloween content coming up, which I'm pretty excited about. One thing that I've been curious about, because I feel like this has changed, and this is in the US, maybe it's not the same in other countries, but I feel like trick-or-treating on Halloween, it's just so different now than I remember it when I was a kid. Because I remember I had the best memories as a kid going house to house with a large group of your friends, and now I feel like it's not the same. There's just been so many less trick-or-treaters. When I was in high school and I was no longer doing, my job was to pass out the candy to the trick-or-treaters, and there were nights where like it would just be like non-stop people going to your door. I remember us having to get like these huge Costco-sized bags of Halloween candy. I just don't see that many people trick-or-treating, and I don't know if it's because they're just choosing to trick-or-treat to the houses that they happen to know. Just the amount of trick-or-treaters, it's not been the same at all. And I'm curious, wherever you live in the States, if you do live in the States, do you feel the same way? Especially to the people that haven't moved around too much. Do you feel like the amount of trick-or-treaters has gone down? I'm also super excited to be going out to dinner tonight. We are going to a little bit of a fancy place, bougie if you so much want to call it that. But regardless of like, you know, where we're going, I feel like since we've gotten a dog, we just haven't been going out to eat as often because we feel bad for like leaving him by himself. And he does fine by himself. It's not like he gets into that much trouble. I don't know, I just feel bad leaving him at home. So we've just been staying in so much more since we've gotten a dog, which has been nice. It's saved a little bit of money. We do DoorDash quite a bit. If any of you use DoorDash, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't use DoorDash, then don't start using it, because the convenience of getting food delivered to your home instead of just going out to pick it up it's really hard to go back after you start. I feel like this is gonna look so crazy, and it might be crazy. Ooh, should I put one in the back? Maybe I should put the 2-leafer in the back. Is that weird? Why am I doing this after I already put the... Okay, hold on. Having this in the back is probably going to be better. There we go. Okay, now there's just so much more room. Being so careful not to touch the growth points, because Hoya growth points are so fragile. It's so sad when you pick up a Hoya and then you see it start to have the sap coming out of it and you're like, no, I damaged something. This is okay. Hopefully this makes sense and this doesn't look too crazy, but I have 5 Hoya AH027 in here, and so all 4 of the 1 leaf node ones are in the front, so when the tendrils start growing, I'll go ahead and pin them up to the trellis. And then in the back, I have a 2-leafer and I will pin it up. I just need to get it into an area where it'll get light all around it. Hopefully it'll grow into a big, beautiful plant. So this is what I decided to do for the Hoya elephant. I know my grow lights just cut me off and I should probably stop filming, but it's really hard for me to stop after I get going. Hopefully you guys can relate. So I'm gonna try to pot up 2 more, and it'll be the easier ones. It'll be the hueskeliana and the sigillatis, because I feel really bad for having those props dry out because they were actually doing pretty well. I'm gonna pot them into a substrate and hopefully that'll take care of that problem. I have these small clear pots that I have the hangers to. I think these are 3.5 inches. I also got these off of the Hoya group on Facebook, but I think I've seen these also on Etsy too. So I think they are making their rounds. I'm just gonna do this super duper quickly because I'm on a roll. Let's cut off the lids for the hueskeliana. One thing that I also want to ask you guys is, I know if you're watching this, chances are you do like Hoya content, but I've actually been buying a couple of anthuriums, and I actually have a good amount that I can do a little bit of an anthurium haul. And there's one anthurium that has been like on my wish list for so long, so I actually ended up buying it not too long ago. I have been really dying to show you guys because I feel like it's finally started to root out a bit. Are you interested in seeing it? I think it'll also be great because those are a little bit more quick to film, and I'm actually going out of town next week. Not gonna have as much time next weekend to do everything, and I thought that would be a perfect thing to be able to get up real quick. So let me know if you're interested. I do have some anthuriums that I'm pretty excited about and would love to show you guys. So let me know. Oh, these are so cute. Oh no, I was just talking about the sap, and there's sap on one of these, which means I broke something. It's honestly been so much harder to film and edit on this channel because I recently switched back to 8-hour days. I used to work 10s, and if y'all work 4 10s, then you know that's where it's at. I feel like 4 10s are more common in healthcare jobs, but I used to get an extra day off per week, and that day just came in so convenient. However, I had to change my position at my job. So I'm still at the same job, but instead of being a contractor for the state, I am now an employee of the state of California. Part of that means I have to accrue some time before I'm able to go back on the 10s. I think I should be able to get my normal schedule back in December, which is awesome because I do want to do so much content in December. It's been kind of tough, if I'm being honest, and I know I can always take a week off if need be. You guys are pretty understanding about that. So the hueskeliana is all done, and once it starts growing out and hanging, we will go ahead and put her in a hanging basket. Let's do the sigillatis real quick and I will sign off. Oh my lord, it is 6:30 and the sun has already gone down. Hold on, it's supposed to be fall, and currently it's been like 100 degrees this week, and if I have personally never felt more betrayed in my entire life, I took this as an offense. I was so ready to bust out my fall clothes and wear sweaters and, you know, get into the fall spirit. And I gotta tell you, it's really hard being in the fall spirit when you are sweating like a pig because it's 100 degrees outside. It has not been the vibe at all. I think it's supposed to cool down this next week. Thank the Lord. I've been upset. I don't know how the weather has been like where you are at, and I know Florida was just slammed with a huge Hurricane Helene, I believe. So if you live in Florida, I hope you are safe and doing well. I gotta stop yapping and start finishing this. This is my sigillatis. We are all done. I feel like we're all done here. I showed you all of my Hoya props, and we were able to pot up at least 3 pots of Hoya, which I feel like is a success in my book. It has been a little bit more than an hour, so I gotta go. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, let me know if you guys are interested in an anthurium haul. If you have very strong opinions about me not doing one, then I will not do one, but I think it might be pretty fun. I got some really cool ones. Anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!